Good morning, it's September 5th, and today I began tearing out the summer crops that are done in the garden in preparation for the fall crops. And so you can see here this raised bed on the table. Most of the summer crops have been pulled out, and there's just a few peppers and an eggplant left. I'll transplant the peppers into the greenhouse during the winter so that they survive and come through. This bed here had strawberries in it, but they were mature and were ready to come out. So this whole table will go into the center of the greenhouse, and we'll probably have celery or some such in it. More soil needs to be added to it. And then this bed had half of it was corn, which is done, and then the other half are greens. So there's collards and Swiss chard in there. Might be some dinosaur kale in there, but it's so small it got displaced. Mostly collards and chard and marigolds. So those are some early fall crops. This is sort of a shaded area, so it does okay. As you can see, here's stuff that I've been tearing out that's going to go on the compost pile over there. And then here's a bed that stuff came from, most of it anyway. And it still has a couple peppers and a couple okra in it, and of course a couple marigolds. So this bed will hold like the spinach, broccoli, and cabbage types for the fall. And then I wanted to get one shot of this before I have everything tore out of it. This is a raised bed. It's a 5 foot by 10 foot. And the tomatoes and the eggplant have almost taken it completely over. Next year the tomatoes will go in their own bed with much higher supports, so that I can keep them trimmed. But wanted to get one shot of this bed before it's all the way done. As you can see, the tomatoes haven't had any issue with growing. And we got tomatoes from like April to now. We're still getting them, and boy, we have really used them. So in this bed, you can see there's still okra in there, and it's really producing. And then there's a really nice large eggplant that produced really well all year. It still has some on it. And then we have some basil back here that's went to seed, that's ready to come out because my fall crop is already producing in the greenhouse. So this bed will be transformed in a few weeks, ready for the winter vegetables. And then as you can see up the side, I just have some experiments going with some beets and some chard in containers. And then on the back fence back there, the big old bush, there are two varieties of blackberries, Marion, and I forgot the other variety. And then there are my blueberry bushes, which are just really, this is their first season, so they're kind of small. Hopefully they make it through the winter and become much better. So you can see the greenhouse, and if you notice, the side is out of it. Actually all four sides are out of it, and the vents are open on the top, being that it still gets really close to 100 degrees here. And so we're trying to get a fall crop started here as early as possible, and we're actually having success. So have some cherry tomatoes to give us some variety, and then we have lots of basil, chard, dinosaur kale, and collards that are just doing fantastic for this time of year, and they're just going to do better and better as it gets cooler and I can start closing up the greenhouse. And so the winter greens are doing very well and ready to go. We should have greens. Really, we're going to have greens until we don't want to have them. And then the last crop of cucumbers is started here. It has a trellis to grow up the side of the greenhouse. And they're doing real well. It's just barely got them in. It was almost too hot in the greenhouse to get them to go into bloom. But the weather is staying under 100 and they're blooming, which is actually kind of surprising. And I think they're going to do fine. We're going to get one more good crop of cucumbers. And then as you can see, there's some space in this bed, so more winter type vegetables will go in here in just a week or two. We're about 2 weeks away from when everybody else in Zone 8 plants their winter vegetables, but I'm kind of an experimenter sometimes, so I'm trying this year. We'll see. If it works out, good. If not, I'll know not to do it again. Have some things in pots. Some honeydew that probably won't mature before it gets too cold. There's some Brussels sprouts. Another cherry tomato. A long-term project there with that pineapple. And another cherry tomato. And then another honeydew. So the raised bed that was on the table that I showed you at the beginning of the video, it goes right here in the middle, so I'll move it in here in a few weeks. So we maximize this space. You probably don't see this from most greenhouses. Most greenhouses use shelving and set pots on the shelves. And I actually wanted to maximize the growing surface area. So this is layer 1, and later there will be a layer 2 about 1 foot down from the edge of the wall. And layer 1 is a 2.5 foot wide by 10 foot long bed down the side, 2.5 by 8 across the center, and then 2.5 by 10. So the actual growing area is quite large for in a greenhouse of this size. This is a 10 foot wide by 12 foot deep greenhouse. This is its first season. It's never been through a winter. So it'll be interesting to see about temperature control during the winter. And that's my little garden update for September 5th, 2015.